Winter quarter 2011, I took a policy analysis class, and our job was to find a bill that we thought could be analyzed and break it down and find out what about the bill we didn't like and what about the bill we thought could be improved. For my project, I read House Bill 1128, which continues foster care for people who age out from 18. I not only found a few different things in it that could be changed, but I also found that the whole thing needed to be rewritten and made better. The policy I'm working on is called the Opportunity Bridge. It's supposed to give funding to all the kids who age out, age 18 to 21. For my policy and my analysis, I define foster care as 24-hour substitute care from when a child is taken out of their family or their relative's home and placed in state custody. And in this state custody of foster care, the state funds the family to take care of this child for a given amount of time until they can either be put back in their home or until they can be adopted. I define aging out as when a child turns 18 and becomes a young adult. The Independent Youth Housing Program was enacted, and that was supposed to help kids who age out of foster care gain housing. I gave them a certain amount of allowance per month to help them keep a roof over their head. And in 2006, Foster Care to 21 was enacted. And this bill was supposed to help kids stay in foster care, keep the support they needed in their foster homes until they turned 21. And then in 2009, the Federal Fostering Connections Act was passed. And this act was a federal bill that dispersed funding throughout the 50 states, which tried helping improve adoption rates, improve the amount of foster care help that kids who age out. And that bill is what started funding the most recent bill, 1128. They had a list of the requirements that the youth had to fulfill in order to get the funding from 1128. And the first requirement they had to fulfill was they had to have a high school diploma or a GED diploma, or be involved in a post-secondary school program. Second requirement was that they had to be working 80 hours a month on average. And the third requirement was that they had to be participating in some kind of activity or program that helped to eliminate the barriers of employment. And the only exception to all these things that would allow you to get funding was if you could prove that you're disabled or that you're incapable of working 80 hours a month or going to school. I think the requirements are doable for an ordinary person. But for someone who's in the foster care, they're faced with different difficulties. So I think they have to focus on building themselves, focus on school, focus on work. And to do all that and realize that you don't have a secure home, I think is a very strong thing that isn't right in this bill. I think what will be right is if you say that a person has to fulfill two of these three requirements or one of these three requirements so that you're not putting all this weight on the foster care youth. My concern is, how is this being spread? How are kids being told about this? Is there a website they can go to? Are they given a note card saying, here's this information, you can get this money? Or are they just saying, there's a fund somewhere out there for you? There has to be a way, whether it's media, telephone, word of mouth, some way or another, the kids have to be told when they age out at age 18. We have to make it easier for the kids to get this funding. If there is the money that is allotted to all the kids to reach everyone, but they're not being told about it, that money is just going to lay there dormant. Is the House Bill 1128 a success? I believe it is for what they set out to achieve, but I don't think it is as much success as it could be with the appropriate amount of funding. With the right amount of funding, we could fund all the foster youth who age out. Not only 83, but actual 1,500 per year, which is the most crucial thing. Analyzing the Bill 1128, I decided to come up with my own bill that would fund everyone, every foster youth that age out. So what I first started with is how much it costs for them to go to school. And I decided for each quarter of school, it should be about $1,000 to help cover fees, tuition, and books. And also shelter. Shelter is very important. And to help foster families cover food, housing, and expenses, I looked at different studies to see how much the government pays a foster family, and it's roughly $800, a little less or a little more than that. So I decided for each month, each youth will be given $800, which will go to the foster families. So every year there's about three quarters for education. So $1,000 per quarter is about $3,000 per youth in foster care. And housing is about $800 a month. So 12 months is about $9,600 a year. So in total, that's about $12,600 a youth per year. But to get a more realistic view of how much that would cost per year for the taxpayers, times that by 500, which is the amount of youth who age out, and that roughly comes out to $6,300,000 for 500 kids per year. And to follow that over 3 years to cover the 18 to 21 gap, we'll times that by 3, which ends up to be $18,900,000. So in Washington, there's about 2,814,238 households. So if you take that and divide that by the $18,900,000 that we need, it actually comes out to about $6.70 per household per year. So when you think about it, that's really not that big of an increase when you're going to fund 1,500 kids a year. We pay a lot of money for cell phones. We paid a lot of money for coffee on a daily basis. I'd be willing to give up a Frappuccino. I'd be willing to give up a coffee. I was not sure how to start with advocating for this bill. By doing this video, I hope that it'll reach a greater audience. I hope people will see it, recognize it, so when I do put it into legislation, they will notice it already, so that it will already have its feet on the ground. It'll already have a running start. It'll be in someone's subconscious. They will know about it, and they may not remember it, but they remember what it might stand for.